And there has been reports that the Israeli government, right after hearing about this, were very upset. Whether
we know that for sure.
Yeah, we know that for sure. Whether a call happened or not, right? That's speculation. But we know for sure the Israelis did not like this. And then right after that reporting, Trump comes out and says, "Well, you need to normalize relations with Israel."
All right.
All right.
Another Republican.
No, I don't want to hear more Republicans.
I do, because
come on.
They never criticize.
That's not true.
This just shows how bad in the House. Senators solidly in his base who voted for everything that Trump has ever wanted have come out in pretty stark terms to warn about this deal. That means something to me.
But don't you think, it was the same with tariffs? A lot of hardline Republicans were like, we don't like tariffs, and they did nothing to stop it.
I'm not saying they're going to do anything
about the
to
Iran
stop
war.
it. They really can't, because it would take a 2/3 vote, I think, in both houses to overturn it. This is an executive agreement. This is something he can do without the approval, quite legally, of Congress. And for MAGA Republicans to be this blunt and this extreme about what Trump is doing, that just shows how horrific and how dangerous this deal is. That's my only point. Not that necessarily they're going to be able to do anything about it.
Well, on top of all of this, Dad, the Middle East crisis is, quote, getting out of control, and this is according to the UN chief. The U.S. has now launched 13 straight nights of strikes in Iran, and the Red Sea attacks and new Red Sea attacks are significantly increasing the conflict. So we've got this strange timing of this deal in the midst of an escalating war in the Middle East. Feels like kind of a disaster mixture, a disaster scenario happening here.
Disaster piled upon disaster. I talked about this. One of the keys, my book, right, the one you need to pre-order, Great American Presidents, has a 10-point scorecard of how you judge presidents. And one of the points is adaptability. Can you change course? Can you respond to changing situations? Can you learn and evolve and be better? And Trump is about the worst president we've ever had when it comes to adaptability. He just plunges ahead, does whatever he wants, tries to pad his wallet, never adjusts, never responds, never deals in the interests of the nation for changing circumstances. And he never seemed to understand that when you start a war, the most likely outcome is a wider war, more deaths, more destruction. He was under the, apparently, I don't know for sure, but it seems that way, under the colossal delusion that the attack in Iran would be like Venezuela, right? Yeah. In one day, we punish them, they concede, they give in, they give us everything we want. Complete and total obvious miscalculation. Just like their planning was so poor and so slipshod and so incompetent that, at least according to independent analyses, they used obsolete intelligence information, and that was at least one reason why they bombed this school, killing 150 or so school children. Something they still haven't stood up to and admitted after 4 months. We're investigating. When has Trump ever stood up and admitted to anything and taken responsibility for anything?
And this won't change. They'll never admit fault.
Not adaptable. He has not changed one whit from his inauguration day in 2017 to almost the end of July in 2026. Still unadaptable president, no matter how disastrous his policies are and how much they are repudiated by the American people. Now, talk about the wider war. Not only, are we engaged now in what seems to be an all-out exchange of attacks, but a new party has apparently entered the war. Have you heard that?
The
Houthis.
Yeah.
Right? Who, I don't know if you have a map of the area you could put up.
Yeah, let me try to get that real quick.
See if you can get the map up. But we sometimes forget that the Strait is not the only sea conduit for oil out of the Middle East. There is also the Red Sea, which is proximate to Yemen, where the Houthi rebels are very entrenched and very powerful. In fact, we launched that incredibly ill-fated strike against them when that fool Pete Hegseth actually, or his colleagues, set up a chat talk that included a journalist who, very patriotically did not reveal. All right, where's Yemen, Sam? I can't read this. Maybe you can.
Well, before we do that, I just also want to point out that, this is something that we've talked about a lot. It's like when you start a war, right? The classic line is the fog of war. You cannot anticipate the conflicts that spring out from the initial conflict, right? Let's say they generally want to stop Iran and their nuclear facilities, et cetera, but then from that springs off the war or the conflict in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, and now another waterway at issue with the Red Sea.
Let me give you a classic historical
wow,
example.
That'd be cool.
The Korean War. The Korean War was designed to push the North Koreans out of the South, right?
Right.
And Truman decided that wasn't good enough. He wanted to roll back communism in the North, so he crosses the 38th parallel. You know what happened after that? The Chinese,
right,
in force, entered the war,
right,
vastly escalating the scale of the conflict, the casualties inflicted on all sides, especially against Korean civilians, and stalemating the war. Something that was not anticipated, that you'd be fighting the communist Chinese when we started that war.
So to give people a quick geography lesson, so this is the Persian Gulf here, right? So here's Iran, here's Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen. Here is the Persian Gulf right here, and the very much talked about Strait of Hormuz is right about here.
Yeah, you can see how narrow it is.
Cursor, actually.
What is it, about 20 miles wide or something along those lines, 22 miles?
Yeah, well, I think.
It's a choke point. That's why it's so critical.
So,
but there's another choke point.
Yeah, so that's right here. Why does it keep? All right, right here. Yeah, Strait of Hormuz.
That's the Strait of Hormuz.
Persian Gulf. Obviously, these waterways are very essential because they connect to all the waterways of the world, right?
Correct.
Here's the Red Sea right here. And at this little tiny point right here where Yemen meets Djibouti, Eritrea, Somalia, a bunch of African countries.
It's a water that borders Africa and the Middle East.
It's the Bab al-Mandab Strait.
Right.
So now
it's about as narrow as the Strait of Hormuz.
Right. So now we've got two conflicts in these big straits, Persian Gulf, Red Sea.
And Yemen is right there.
Yes, right.
Just
here.
like Iran is right there for the Strait, Yemen is right there. And there's no ally of the U.S. in the immediate vicinity. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, of the Red Sea choke point.
That's a good word for it. It's the let's see, Bab al-Mandab Strait.
Yes, and look where the strategic position of Yemen is. We're not going to count on Djibouti to counter that, are we?
I don't think so.
Yes. So now you got double whammy. Something that wasn't expected, but you got to always, something the unadaptable, stiff-necked Donald Trump doesn't even begin to comprehend. You've always got to be prepared for unexpected contingencies. It's not someone I admire, but John Ashcroft, Secretary of Defense under W. Bush, did have a wise saying. He said, "There are known unknowns, which are bad enough, but there are always in war unknown unknowns, things you never thought of, never anticipated at the start. But you always got to know there are going to be known unknowns and unknown unknowns, something that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth don't have the faintest, the foggiest conception of, which is why they've gotten us into an ever deepening mess. And, now it seems to be, what we're fighting for is opening these waterways. And where were these waterways before Donald Trump started the war, Sam?
Open.
Open. This is insane. This is madness. And, Trump does not have and isn't capable of thinking of it a good way out of this. What is he going to do? Yeah, you can keep just, threatening to kill the civilians of Iraq, be a war criminal. That's not going to solve your problems. That's just going to make things infinitely worse and make you a figure of vilification in the history books.
Our next topic of the evening is the Trump administration will impose around 10% on goods from more than 80 countries around the world. Its latest effort to put in place an expansive protectionist tariff policy that has been repeatedly challenged with the court. I thought we got away from this. I thought the Supreme Court said, hey, you got to go to Congress if you're going to impose tariffs. But now we're just back to square one again?
Yes.
Huh?
You forget something I said last week, which is he'll find some other loophole. And he did. He found some other provision of law. And, I'm not a international lawyer. I doubt if it's legitimate, but who's going to stop him? It'll take a year, maybe more, before this wends its way through the courts and gets to the Supreme Court. He may be ready to leave office, by the time this gets resolved. This is his MO. He doesn't care about the law. He'll just keep doing whatever he wants to do until someone stops him. And at this point, there's no one to stop him. Think of the irony of this. He's been criticizing our allies, right? You're not stepping up, putting your troops on the line, the lives of your people on the line to help us with this crazy war. But I'm certainly going to try to do whatever I can to persuade you to help us out, to be friendly with me, to be supportive by slapping tariffs on you.
Great.
Unbelievable. We already had a rebate, something like $180 billion in illegal tariffs. And, I suspect these will be just as illegal. And it was not, a crazy left-wing court that declared his tariffs illegal, was it?
Not at all.
Not hardly at all. Most right-wing court we've had since the 19th century, with 3 of his own appointees on it.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan issued a criminal referral against former special counsel Jack Smith for allegedly making, quote, willfully and intentionally false statements when testifying before Congress last year.
This is how they're keeping us safe, right? They're expending the resources of the federal government to support Donald Trump's revenge tour. Anyone who investigated him has got to be, sought out and persecuted by the government. That's not the way the American government is supposed to work. That's the way dictatorships work. They punish their enemies without being checked. We're supposed to have, supposedly, a Department of Justice that represents the American people. They're not supposed to be Donald Trump's lawyer. In fact, I thought the most telling moment of Todd Blanche's confirmation hearing. And you know what I think of confirmation hearings? You can hold them up like this piece of paper and throw them away because they can lie through their teeth and it doesn't matter. But the most telling moment, Sam, was a little slip of the tongue by Todd Blanche when he said, I am Donald Trump's lawyer. Oh, whoops. No. I meant I was.
That was funny.
Donald Trump's lawyer.
When is Jim Jordan going to be held accountable for lying about sexual assault in the Ohio State wrestling program?
As well as I, projection, right?
Right.
You project on someone else your own faults. There's an old biblical saying about that you are focused on the mote in your enemy's eye and ignoring the log in your own eye. That's Jim Jordan.
A log in your eye?
A log in your eye.
That's
how big it is compared to the mite in your enemy's eye.
That sounds like it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we will move on to the question portion. Do you have it? He's tapped me for a drink, but I don't think you have a drink.
Oh, no drink.
There is some water here. Do you want some water?
Sure.
I don't know what it's from.
No, that looks like it's been there for a month.
No, it hasn't.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you bring a drink? I don't think you did.
I guess I forgot.
Oh,
It's been a long day.
right. Um, with that, we will move on to the question portion of our show. Before we do that, we have almost 600 people watching, but only 200 likes.
What?
Make sure you like the stream. It helps us a lot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Turn on that notification bell so you know we're live. And now we have a special announcement during our housekeeping. Great American Presidents is available for pre-order wherever you get your books, whether that be Amazon, whether that be Barnes & Noble, whether you have another party, another place
Doesn't
where you get your
matter.
books. Doesn't matter. It's available. We want to push these pre-sale, guys. It helps promote the book a lot. Go now. Pre-order the book. I guarantee you will like it. I'm just going to go to a random passage in the book.
And for our viewers who buy the book, I'm be willing to make some kind of arrangement if we get enough buyers to send out electronic signature plates.
So here's just page 270. Ready?
Just random. I promise you, I have no idea what he's.
This is about Teddy. This is chapter 7, Teddy Roosevelt. If not for the enduring link between white supremacy and the Democratic Party in the South, Roosevelt might have swept the entire nation. Quote, there is no enthusiasm, unquote, for Parker, wrote the Republican chairman of Tennessee. Quote, and none can be aroused by Democratic spellbinders. But for what is called the Negro question, thousands of our farmers would vote for Mr. Roosevelt.
Very important point there. Back when Roosevelt was running in the beginning of the 20.
Thank you to George Politis. Thank you to Free Throw Guy for your donations. This is from Comic Fan.
Oh, one of our good friends.
I heard Trump did what he did because he wants to get close. Okay, hold on. I got to read this carefully. I heard Trump did what he did is because he wants to get close to them, I guess the Saudis, before countries like Iran and Russia do. Plus, the uranium might be for different things.
I heard that too. That's a poor excuse. We're going to give them uranium because Russia or China might do it. You know, that's the old argument. Oh, I better rob the bank before someone else does. That is not a justification for policy. And I doubt if that's overriding the grift that's involved here anyway. And we have enough sway over the Saudis that we could probably keep the Russians and the Chinese out.
Could you give us a lesson on the 7 Years' War, which most historians call the first true war, and how consequential it was in sowing the seeds for the American Revolution?
It was, you know, I'm not going to go on at length on this.
Can you tell the people what? I don't even know what that is, to be honest.
This was a war in around the 1750s, before the American Revolution. It was a European war that also spread into the United States, where it was known as the French and Indian War.
Oh, right.
Because we were, of course, on the side of the British, since we were still British loyalists at the time. And we were fighting on behalf of the British against attempts of the French in North America to take over parts of the British colonial empire. You know who first experienced warfare and learned about warfare in the French and Indian Wars, Sam?
No.
Take a guess. George Washington was one of the officers in the French and Indian War. And it also bred in him a lot of hostility to the British, because he did not like the way the British treated him and other Americans, you know, American colonials at that time, who are their allies. But it was a very important prelude to turning against the British and gave Washington and other Americans military experience.
Gotcha. This is from Brian Sheehan. Woodrow Wilson has for many years been a generally favorable looked-on president. In recent years, views on him have nosedived. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they've nosedived for a very specific reason: his retrograde racial politics. Remember, he was from Virginia. He was very much of a segregationist, which wasn't a big issue, you know, in the early 20th century, when pretty much the nation, even in the North, where there wasn't official segregation, was very much biased against black people. Yeah, the North did not have official segregation, but it had things like redlining, restrictive covenants that would not let black people move into white neighborhoods, steering. Uh, so,
About the right wing whining about the film's casting and wanting to see it flop. It's a massive box office success, and they keep whining about it.
I'll let Sam, the movie expert, take this one.
I have not seen it yet. I'm trying to wait for an IMAX ticket, and every day I check, it's sold out. I guess maybe if I do a couple days in advance, but sometimes I just like to do things on the fly. So I haven't seen it yet. I'm still waiting to see it in IMAX. I have been following the right wing whining about the film's casting. I think it's just a bunch of culture war BS, and as you've said, the film is a massive success, so nobody gives a crap. I mean, the culture war about this movie became so extreme that the right online was complaining about this trans actor Elliot Page playing Achilles, and they were so upset that a trans man was playing Achilles, but it ended up just not even being true. Elliot Page was not playing Achilles.
So what? What if it was true?
Right, I
Who
don't.
cares?
It doesn't matter. But I'm saying, like,
Right.
that's how insane the online hate got about this. People were just making up stuff about the casting of the movie, and honestly, what I've heard is that the worst casting was not, a lot of people on the right ridiculously are upset about black people being cast in the movie, right? Because, well, historically there weren't black people in Greece, blah 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 blah.
We don't know that.
One, we don't really know that, but two, I've heard that the worst castings were some of the white actors, actually, not the black actors. And it's like, all right, if you're so worried about historical accuracy, if you're really worried about that, then in theory the whole movie should be starring Greek people in Greek, right? I bet a lot of people in America would not watch that
And when
movie.
has
So-
the right wing been worried about historical accuracy?
Right. Well, that's a whole different.
Yeah, it's a whole
conversation.
different point. I want to make another point. It's not on this, but it's related. One of the big things that the right has railed about that is reflected in this movie is transgender treatment, right?
Right.
Including hormonal treatment, right?
Right.
What has Pete Hegseth, the darling of the extreme right, just mandated for American male soldiers? Hormone therapy, testing hormone therapy.
The more I've witnessed the far right in this country since Trump came into power for the last decade or so, the more I realize that the things they rail about are part of their own agenda.
You've always talked about this,
They're
Sam.
Trump
that
is a man. Yeah.
projection is central to everything they do.
Right. All right. Our next question is from Tina. Brent crude oil hit $100 today. Strategic reserves have 37 days of oil to replace what we import, aka tank bottom. Diesel shipping will raise the prices of products carried. I am predicting inflation will rise sharply over the next few months and swing the midterms in 103 days to the Dems. The cost of this war is becoming explosive. Please share your comments/insights.
I agree with everything that the viewer said. And the notion, we talked about this Tuesday, the notion that this war cost $37.5 billion, that's about as credible as vandals diving into the reflecting pool. Totally incredible. The cost is going to amount to over $100 billion, and maybe ultimately, who knows what the price tag is going to be. No question that, this puts tremendous pressure on the oil market, tremendous pressure, not just on gas at the pump, but on the whole price structure in the United States. And it may not be fully felt by the midterms, but it's going to be felt to some extent. I am confident that there will be major Democratic gains in the midterms, unless, and I think that's what Trump's speech was all about, he acts to intervene and rig or even in some way interfere with the midterm elections. I'm sure that's what he wants to do. I have no doubt.
Overall, what is your opinion of Haile Selassie and his impact on Ethiopia?
That's Haile Selassie.
Oh,
He was the emperor.
emperor.
Yeah, kind of a king-like figure of Ethiopia. And, with all the pluses and minuses that you associate with emperors. And of course, under his watch, each and every agenda.
Ciao, Bella.
Yes.
How come they don't speak Italian in Ethiopia?
Maybe some do. Have you been to Ethiopia?
No.
We have
One of those countries in that East Africa horn. They do speak Italian.
Yes, because Italy did have colonies in Africa, like the French and the British and the Germans.
Right. Anything planned for episode 250? How close are we to 250?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question.
Let me see.
Sam's the boss. I have no idea.
I'm the boss?
Of course you are.
What episode is this? I'm trying to look.
They have it listed, so
Who's they? You mean me?
whoever is listening.
Oh, 249.
Wow, so Tuesday?
So Tuesday would be 250. Well, we don't have anything
Wow.
planned as of right this second.
I can't believe for 250 episodes, we really pretty much every episode, sometimes we repeat ourselves because the issues don't always change, but every single one of those 250 episodes, we've had unique content.
That's true.
And that's pretty good because it's just us. We don't have, a whole staff. I remember when I was on the Bill Maher show, right? Bill Maher is this great wit, He has 5, at least then, can't say now, but when I was on it, I think in 2020 or so, he had 5 writers behind him. How many do we have?
0.
0. How many researchers do we have?
I mean, for a show like that, 5 writers isn't even that many.
Boy, I was
honestly.
shocked.
But
And a whole slew of other people. We had a post-show party, and there were like dozens upon dozens of people who worked for him there.
What the hell's going on with Bill Maher though? He's turned to like a Trump.
I have no idea.
He said that he would vote for J.D. Vance in 2028.
I don't know what's happened with him.
That's really weird.
He's got to have me on the show so I can challenge him.
I haven't watched the show in years.
I haven't either. I've stopped.
Yeah. This is from Marzum. Dr. Litchtman, how did Hunter Biden win the internet? You guys have to understand, he has no idea what's happening with Hunter Biden online right now. Do you have any idea?
No, you
No
take
idea.
that one.
He's just doing the rounds on a lot of different YouTube channels and podcasts, and he's sort of winning over people, after the sort of downslide he had at the end of his
Hey, he
dad's
looks good
administration.
compared to Trump Jr.
Well, we did make that point today,
Yeah.
that compared. I mean, if you want to talk about corruption and making money off of your father, I mean, for God's sake. So you have no awareness of that at all.
None.
Okay, we'll skip that. Hi, Professor. This is from Robs. I'm a student at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. I'm curious.
Good university.
Have you ever done a lecture at a school or visited?
I've certainly done lectures at schools. If you want me to come and lecture, have someone at the school contact me.
You've done lectures at universities all over the world.
Yes, all over the world. I just came back from the Oxford Forum, lecturing at Oxford University. Sam will remember the whole family went to Japan.
Yeah, I love
when
Japan.
I lectured in Kyoto at Kyosho. I don't remember the exact pronunciation, university there. I've lectured all over the world.
Right. I think, isn't it just Kyoto University? No?
No, something like
Something.
Doshisha University.
That sounds right. Can J.D. Vance or Newsom win in 2028?
Of course. Either a Democrat or Republican could win. As you know, the theory behind the keys to the White House is the candidates matter much less than the performance of the party in the White House.
Right. I'm looking it up now.
And you never know in advance whether someone based on a candidacy is going to win or not. Remember, for all those years, the Democrats believed they were picking winning candidates, experienced, proven candidates like Walter Mondale in 1984, Mike Dukakis in 1988, John Kerry in 2004, Hillary Clinton in 2016. Couldn't have better candidates. And what was the result for all of them, Sam?
L's.
Every one of them. It was the off-the-wall candidates for the most part who've won for the Democrats. Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama.
According to Google Gemini, the 3 biggest universities in Kyoto are Ritsumeikan University, Kyoto University, and Doshisha University.
Doshisha, that's what I said.
That's what you
Hey, I did remember.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That's
How
pretty
did you
good.
remember that?
Yeah.
We do have a poll going.
We do? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
I forgot to mention it.
Oh.
Who requested it? Let me double check. A free throw guy requested it, and I think Savannah put it up.
We like our free throw guy.
Will Trump invade Iran and take the strait, or make a deal and let Iran control the strait?
I'm not sure those are the only two choices, but it's good.
Invade Iran is winning with 48%. Make a deal is in second with 33%, and other is at 19th.
Yeah. So what this shows, basically, no one has the faintest idea, including Trump, frankly, of what Trump is going to do.
No, I don't think.
With idiots like Hegseth around him, what kind of good advice is he going to get? The only person that I have any respect for, among his top appointees is Marco Rubio, and he seems to have, like Lindsey Graham, I know he is not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but come on, like Lindsey Graham, he has totally sold his soul to Donald Trump.
This is from M. Shobar. Why would Israel even tolerate a nuclear-armed Saudi Arabia? Israel has their own weapons, but keeps it on the down low.
That's part of the danger here. Once you start spreading even the idea of another country in the Middle East getting nuclear weapons, you risk not just an expanded arms race from developing nuclear weapons. I doubt it, but it's not beyond comprehension.
Yeah, the crazy thing about Israel is Netanyahu is not even the furthest right
not close
in the country.
No, not close. There are really crazy right-wingers, and they're pretty powerful.
This is from Patrick Murray. Have you read Frankfurt Critical Theory?
I have, long time ago when I was in school.
How do social hierarchies control collective consciousness? Do you think the universe is a conscious entity?
Oh, God.
Okay, let's hear your answer.
I'm not going to get into the theories of the universe. I mean, I can, but they're worth no more than anyone else's.
Right.
No one can prove anything. But what the Frankfurt School, people like Habermas and others have suggested is that the ruling class, and I think they're wrong, doesn't primarily rely on repression, but it relies on control of what we think and what we believe, and controlling open speech and open debate and interactions. And I think there's some truth to that, but it's only a very partial truth.
There's a hater in the chat, and I want to throw their comment to you and check your response. You ready?
Yes.
Or do you not want to hear it?
No, go ahead.
They say, no one should be paying attention to this guy. His keys were wrong, and he stood by them. No humility and no intellectual courtesy or integrity. That's pretty strong.
And, of course, what he said is factually incorrect. Who was the first person to say I was wrong?
You.
You. Me.
No, not me.
Not you. Me. Immediately.
That's like a
who was the first
Marx
person to call the election for Donald Trump? Way ahead of the networks.
You.
Right. I admitted right away that I was wrong. What could be more intellectually honest? What could be more humble? What could be more self-deprecating? How often does anyone on the right wing ever admit they're wrong?
Not once.
Not
never.
once. So right away, I admitted that I was wrong. Plus, what this guy totally ignores,
yes,
I've been doing this for 45 years.
Right.
And having one error in 45 years hardly invalidates the entire record, which is over 90% correct predictions. There is no one else in the world with a 45-year record like that. But all the critics want to do is jump on the one time I was wrong. So there is no basis, as always, to the right wing. They make things up, they fabricate, and they use it to attack you. Let me tell you, in 2024, not just me, but our whole family was doxxed, right? All our personal information was put out there for people to attack. I got death threats. I got the most obscene anti-Semitic threats. I was swatted. That is, people called the police and said I was killing my wife. If you knew my wife, you know how ridiculous that is. But the police had to come to our house twice. They tried to break in to my home. I had to develop a state-of-the-art security system and a really close relationship with the police. And you dare to tell me, that I'm not honest or humble enough? My goodness gracious.
So the morning after the election, we posted a short on YouTube, TikTok, and everywhere, and he said, literally the first word he says, I just want to say that, I was wrong. I think you literally said I was wrong.
I was wrong.
I think the issue, especially with obviously online, there's a lot of trolls and a lot of misinformation, but you had this disastrous interview with Cenk.
I was very clear. There's always misinformation, but never the explosion of misinformation we've seen here. And I gave specific examples. For example, the abortion issue. In the exit polls, not pre-election, exit polls, over 30%, it was over a 30% lead of pro-choice versus pro-life, over 30%. That should have powered Harris to an overwhelming victory. But because of misinformation, I'm not blaming the voters, because of misinformation, voters are not fact checkers. The gap on the abortion issue between Harris and Trump was not 35%. Wasn't 20%, wasn't 15%. Fraction of the actual gap attributable not to anything of the voters because they're not fact checkers, but to the misinformation.
Another key thing is, let me finish my point.
Wasn't supposed to be a debate.
Let me finish my point. And Cenk started, again, ambushed you and said, I was right, Dr. Litchtman, you were wrong. And you said, I was not, you were not right and I was not wrong. And people clip that and say, look, he said he wasn't wrong. Cenk, I mean, again, if you do 3 minutes of research, you can figure this out, but that's not how the internet works. But back in the summer of 2024, Cenk and my dad had a heated debate specifically about Biden dropping out. And Cenk, part of this leftist movement, was trying to say Biden needs to drop out, Biden needs to drop out. You were saying, look, that's a disaster for the party holding the White House if he drops out, et cetera, et cetera. So when Cenk was saying, I was right, you were wrong, and you said I wasn't wrong, specifically they were talking about, and my dad was talking about, their debate and whether Biden should drop out or not, because there's no way to tell that Cenk was right or wrong, or you were right or wrong. I mean, they lost, right? Biden dropped out, they lost. And also, Cenk likes to make 700 predictions during an election and then be like, look, I was right. I predicted the president, even though he flip-flopped 7 times.
I pointed that out in the debate. I had his statements where he flip-flopped on who was going to win. So no matter what happened, he can say, I was right. And by the way, we had that debate on his ground. It was on his channel. And as I pointed out on Piers Morgan, but no one seems to have heard this, he got trounced in that debate with his own viewers. I won the debate, and he resoundingly lost it.
Right. And yeah, I think that's a key detail nobody realizes.
They just wanted to jump on some out-of-context statement that I made. And frankly, I was ambushed. That was not supposed to be a debate. That was just supposed to be each expressing our analyses of the election. Instead of doing that, Cenk, who thinks he can make his name by attacking me, spent all his time attacking me as if this was the first time anyone revealed that I was wrong. I had hidden it all this time. And Cenk is showing me up by saying I'm wrong. What piles of nonsense. But, that's the way it is.
Again, you're not on the internet.
That's the way it is.
You're not on the internet. Piers Morgan's show is basically that, just people screaming and attacking each other.
Exactly.
Which is weird because you were reached out to in the summer of 2024 to go on Piers Morgan. I told you to do it, and you didn't do it. And then the time that you got attacked by Cenk, you did it without telling me.
Right.
You gotta run that stuff by me. I don't know why he did that. He went on without telling me.
I thought you had told me I should definitely go on Piers Morgan.
I did, but that was like 6 months ago.
I didn't realize. It doesn't matter. It's water under the bridge. Yeah. And we're getting very little of it anymore. It's faded away.
Yeah. Okay. We are now over time here. Okay. I want to give some shout out to some donators. The Mad Hatter Forever here for today. 8 Lunations, Philip H, Limited Light, 2009, KY Gal. Thank you all so much. Oh, Philip H also asked, is your book on Audible? It's not
yet. It's not out.
the publisher. Well, sometimes you can pre-order on Audible too.
Oh,
But
maybe you can. I don't know. It's going to be on Audible.
It will be on Audible. The publisher is working on that, but I don't believe it is available for pre-order yet on Audible. So
but it will be on Audible. Publisher
eventually,
is
yes.
committed to that.
Okay, Dad, we went off on a tangent there.
Right.
What are your final words to the people?
Keep your eye on this deal. It is incredible. You know, if it goes through, and who knows with Trump.
Yeah, I have to believe it's not even going to happen.
Yeah, it may not happen, but who knows? You know, he changes his mind by the hour. Decisions and revisions that a minute will reverse. But this deal has incredible implications, both for all the conflicts of interest that it involves and for the enormous danger of destabilizing the nuclear status quo, not just in the Middle East, but all over the world.
Yeah, and there are some reports that are saying tonight that Trump is close to a decision on a, quote, massive attack on Iran. So things could get way worse very quickly. So not good.
Not good. You know, he's in danger of becoming a war criminal. If he deliberately attacks civilians, that is a war crime. That's an unambiguous war crime. Yes, we know as collateral damage, civilians always die in war, and that's horrible. But it is crystal clear from all the conventions that if you deliberately attack civilians, for example, by knocking out their power plants, knocking out bridges, then you have committed a war crime. It's why Putin is a war criminal, what Putin was doing and still doing in Ukraine.
Right. Okay, folks. I guess we'll see you on Tuesday for our 250th.
250. Wow.
We have nothing planned, but maybe we'll start.
Send us ideas if you have them.
Yeah, from there. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Good night.